let me ask you a question. So this is based on a true scenario that just came to my head when I was wrestling. My own 22 process. Now, I was a freshman. I was a decent athlete, played a bunch of sports. So they're like, hey, go out for wrestling. You'll get a little bit better for football, better tackler. And they were right. But anyways, they put me at 145, and I was a fool. I was like 140. I was like 140. They had me wrestle up because the other guy was better. So, yeah. So I'm 140 wrestling, 145. First year ever wrestling as a freshman. That's one of the reasons I was 22. I like to say that, throw that in, just, make it so people don't think I just trip over my feet. But I finally, after I was 0-22, after the 14th match, I'll never forget, match of 14 or 15, I was so surprised by it. I took a kid down, and I had him on his back. And I remember I was so amazed at that. Even in the, because wrestling, man, your adrenaline's flowing and you're exhausted. Yeah. I always say wrestling 2 minutes is the hardest thing I've ever done. But anyways, I had this guy on his back, and I'm like, I looked up at my coach. I said, what do I do now? I'd never been in that spot before. So the question is, if you could go back and tell 15-year-old Ryan, hey, this is when you got a guy in that spot, here's how you finish it.
So it's funny because I was in that same exact predicament. Our team was undefeated for 2 years before me joining. And the match came down. I'm one of the last spots on the team. I also had to wrestle up. So I'm very, very familiar. I get on the mats. This dude, he looks like me. I was wrestling at 140. I'm like, what the heck? Right? And he's smoking me. And it was just 1-8 flipped. And I think I've used this every day as motivation moving forward, right? What you don't see is the mental stress, right? Be stronger than your mind will allow. If you can break the barriers to which you confine yourself to, there is nothing that you're capable of. And next thing you know, guys on top of me, I roll them over, and they're telling me, first off, they send me out there not to get pinned, right? That was my job, to not get pinned. And I end up pinning this dude. I changed the tide for the whole season. We swept that match. We went on, stayed undefeated. I made it to regionals my very first year. And like I said, I've been living this life ever since.
That's amazing. I mean, that's, Ryan, so maybe if you can go back in time machine, you can solve the pinning issue.
Basically, I got to dig deeper.
Yeah. So
you got to dig deep.
You got to find a new way. Shane,